All right. So I saw something that I thought was really cool. I don't know what role playing system is for, but somebody was creating a character class for the Revenant, and I don't remember uh, what role playing system that meant or exactly what they meant by Revenant. But I just thought, gosh, wouldn't it be it would be so cool to play a character that basically just lives off of possessing the bodies of the dead that they come across. Otherwise, you're an incorporeal spirit, and that seemed like a really cool idea to me. So I know how to make that in GURPS, I think. So let's go ahead and explore that concept real quick. So I'm going to create this isn't going to be a character class so much as it is going to be more a racial template. We're going to start here with the GURPS basic set. And in this chapter here, this section called meta traits, there is a spirit meta trait, and this seems like a really good place to start. You can see it's quite pricey. I think there's ways we can kind of work that price down. So let's start with the spirit meta trait. Okay, so we have spirit, which is worth 261. And that consists of doesn't breathe, doesn't eat or drink. Let's write down these values as well. That's 20, that's 10. Doesn't sleep for another 20. Immunity to metabolic hazards. So this is pretty common to undead and constructs. Basically, poison, radiation, those sort of things don't matter to you. You don't worry about cellular decay or infection. And then this is the big one, insubstantiality, which is so in here the spirit meta trait it says affects substantial. That means you can cast spells, not necessarily at a penalty, and use your abilities that affect the substantial world. I actually don't want that on this character, but I am still going to give it the usually on modifier. I will be applying the no vertical move. So you are still earthbound when you are a revenant in spirit form. So no vertical move is worth, where was it? No vertical move is worth minus 10%. This actually brings the value of insubstantiality down to, it's normally worth 80 points. Now it's going to be worth 40 points for that, actually. So this value is already wrong. Okay, so insubstantiality. And then invisibility, I actually do not want to give this one invisibility. So that strikes another 38 off the value of spirit here. And then unaging, because undead creatures do not become decrepit and eventually die of old age. Okay, and that's the main thing. I also took a look at GURPS Fantasy. So in here they have some undead meta traits, including for disembodied spirits. I'm going to take one thing from that, which is I am going to give them strength minus, or just strength 0, which is going to be strength minus 10. It's going to be worth minus 100 points on this race. They have no strength. Of course, they still need hit points. So we're still going to give them a base hit points of 10. And that's just going to cost them 20 points to come back up. So in GURPS, hit points are based off of your strength score. So if you have strength 0, your hit points would be 0. I'm just adding on 10 hit points. Those are worth 2 points apiece, whereas each level of strength costs 10 points apiece. So anyway, that brings the strength down without bringing the hit points down. And then possession. This is what I got ahead of myself a little bit earlier. So possession. This is going to be spirit possession, meaning I am a spirit possessing another creature. This creature, however, it's gonna have a sort of accessibility limitation on it, where it's only going to work on dead bodies. Which seems to be worth a good minus 40%. Okay, and okay, where was I? So actually realizing that the spirit or spiritual actually in the basic set. I forgot that exists in the basic set, as well as is reiterated in the powers book to specify that this is not talking about power sources, just talking about the nature of the possession. Where your body, right? We'll do air quotes around that. Your body merges with that of the host body. Okay, so spiritual possession. It's only going to work on dead bodies. There's going to be no memory access because you're the one you're possessing is dead. And I think that's about it for this creature. So overall, this is worth possession as an advantage is worth, this one is worth 100. So 100 minus 50 minus 70. So this ends up being a 30-point advantage. And that's really kind of it. Let's tally up the total value of the Revenant. Okay, so we have 20, 10, so these are worth 50. We're up to 80, 120, 135, minus 100, 35 plus 20 is 55, plus 30. So this is an 85-point racial template right there that you can go ahead and just run and play in a GURPS game immediately. Their insubstantiality does give them a lot of power. Maybe consider reducing this insubstantiality a little bit further to prevent them from just walking through walls and doors freely. But otherwise, this is just a ready-made racial template that you could take and apply today. I love GURPS because it allows me, like, I see something that inspires me online, and I'm like, I can make that in GURPS. I know how to do that. It's such a beautiful, expressive system for creating characters, for designing monsters and things like that. And I was able to put this together in a very short period of time. And now I have it for future use. If you see other changes you'd like to make, let me know what those are. And if I missed something obvious, let me know what that is too. But I think this is kind of the bulk of it right here. So anyway, I'd love to know what creative projects you're up to. I appreciate you joining me on my journey, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, so now I have my son with me. He's like, hold on, Dad, you missed something important. So let's add on some other possible things here. So one, so William, what was your inspiration? Where did you pull your information from?
Fablehaven.
So from Fablehaven. So what are other characteristics of a Fablehaven Revenant?
Their lair and themselves have an aura of fear.
Okay.
Even if you can't see them, but you're near them, you're filled with terror.
Okay, so there's two ways we could represent that. So one is the straight up terror advantage. Okay, or we could set that up as an affliction that would cause some fear effect with some radius. Although I think terror is probably the better way to go here. In fact, now that I think about it, is fear even one of the effects you can choose under affliction? Maybe. Kind of makes me wonder if fear should, if that maybe terror should actually just be part of the affliction disadvantage. Anyway, okay, so that's one thing. What else about revenants are we missing?
I don't think that Fablehaven really says anything else.
Okay, well, you also drew inspiration from D&D, so what's something that D&D revenants have that we're missing?
Whenever they kill someone, they go into that body.
Okay,
I
so
mean, that could just be represented through personality or something.
yeah, although that does remind me that for possession, actually, so for a typical character, we may want to add in some limitations that stop a player from just body jumping. I mean, that could be fun, but we might want to consider something like cause fatigue or just requires time. And I'm blanking on what requires time is called right now, but it requires some sort of ritual maybe to do it. Otherwise, you can just body hop to whatever to whatever victim you just killed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Something that so those are a couple options worth considering. Another option, or another thing worth considering, is disadvantages. What is a revenant weak to? Like, what are some of the revenant's weaknesses?
It's slow.
The revenants are slow. Does that mean the body that it possesses is slow, or that in spirit form it's really slow?
I think that it means that while it's in its body, it's kind of slow.
Okay, so basic move -1 or -2. Um, maybe only while possessing, right? And I guess that'd be a minus, I don't know, -20 or -40% modifier. I'd have to think about that a little bit more carefully, but
Wouldn't it be a plus?
no, because it makes because basic move, the penalty doesn't always affect you. Its value is reduced. So at a -40%, the -1 would be worth -3 points instead of -5.
Uh,
Right? It's this -5 times basically 0.6 is how you do with the percentages. Another thing to consider is maybe dread. Maybe revenants have a natural dread or fear instilled into them of sacred places or certain symbols or signs or something like that.
yeah.
Um, a common trope in fantasy is to have undead or other supernatural creatures be vulnerable to silver or for fairies cold iron or something like that. So there could be a vulnerability there. We'll write down vulnerability silver. That's another option worth looking into.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else do you think is a limitation to being a revenant?
Hmm.
There's something about a revenant that just being a revenant personality wise, for example, dwarves are greedy, right? Or miserly. Um, uh, Werewolves may have a odious personal habit where they always need to go after and attack people when they're in wolf form. Okay. Dragons are also greedy. They're also fairly vainglorious and proud.
Let's see. The one revenant that we ever see in Fablehaven sticks to him will only will only ever leave his lair if there's prey to kill.
You see, I did consider something where to prohibit the insubstantial revenant from leaving, like something like its haunt. Maybe there's some object or some focus or anchor that keeps it there.
Oh,
So
like it's
like its pile of gold or something
No,
that was important
it's
to it.
like the thing that keeps it alive, whatever it's called. I know it starts with a P.
A phylactery.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in GURPS, we could call that. I think dependency is the correct disadvantage here, where you require exposure to a substance, and without it, you will die. So let's just double check here. Dependency. Dependent. That's dependence. I need dependency. You must regularly ingest a substance, touch or carry an object, or spend time in an environment in order to survive. If you fail to do so, you start to lose hit points and will eventually die. Okay. That would encourage you to not wander too far from your haunt. So we could also say, so dependency. So here we can call this a focus, an anchor, a haunt. I'll just do slashes here. Anchor, haunt, a phylactery, or a soul jar, right? So that's another option as well. That would make your revenant. That might counteract how powerful their insubstantiality is, because they're so dependent on the rest of the party carrying around their, their special, really lucky sock that they attach their soul to or something. I don't know. So, okay, I think that's a pretty good list.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Will.
You are welcome.